everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is to try to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides more balance and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. I hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Pumped to be back from Expo and wanted to do a quick little recap this week to tell everyone about what we saw. So I will kick it over to Kyle, and we'll just kind of ping pong back and forth and give everyone a little bit of a download on what we thought was the kind of the standout things this year from Expo West.
Yeah, it's always a fun show. I mean, first and foremost, I've been to the show the last 7 years. It is getting to the point where it's crazy just how small the industry feels after you go for so long.
Yeah.
You heard
How many conversations did we have where we talked to one person and then someone else we both knew walked up and said hi? I'm like, wait, you know them? We know them?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was one point we were walking the show and we had 7 people with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, if we're walking up
shout
the
out
booth,
to that
like,
squad.
Yeah, that was quite a squad. It had a couple of investors, Robert from
CPG Wire was with us.
CPG
Yeah,
Wire
we had like
was with us.
groundbreaking news, investors,
Yeah, it's
agencies,
like if we're
longevity
walking up on,
people.
if we're walking up on booths right now, they probably think we're a lot more serious than we actually are. So it was great to see everyone. Called our annual meeting at this point. My high level takeaway from Expo, kind of thinking off cuff here.
Wait, before you even jump in though, I mean, if everyone, in case you didn't listen to our big bet last when we went out was thinking we were going to see like protein,
clear whey.
Clear whey was kind of the thing. I think you and I both agreed we felt like might be the big one.
Which I can't. There was definitely one soda brand who's I'm blanking on what their name was, but it did have clear whey protein in it. It was the way that I interpreted it is essentially like, yeah, it was protein pop, because I remember walking away from the booth being like, wow, that trademark actually is probably very expensive.
Right. We both were like, oh, that's pretty impressive. They snagged that.
Yeah. So that trend of clear protein was definitely there. I was expecting it to be in everything.
I was too.
And I think it's kind of this use case of like, you want a protein shake or at least a drink that has protein in it. So call it 15 to 25 grams. But if I'm eating lunch, I don't want to take down shake number 2 or 3 that's chocolate, vanilla, chocolate fudge, peanut butter, like very standard whey protein shake flavors.
Like decadent things.
Yeah, very decadent, right? So that protein pop brand, who we didn't even speak to, so shout out to them again. It was this idea of like, can you create a lunchtime or evening type of flavor that's more refreshing? But has 15 to 20 grams of proteins. I think the flavors they had were like watermelon, pineapple, like something that you could, either drink down with lunch or even use as an alcohol alternative, quite honestly.
Yeah,
so
it was definitely more of like an afternoon, like a break from decadent and more into like almost like I have a ghost energy here, like something more along those lines of those flavors type of things.
Yeah, but beverage was, man, there were so many beverage brands.
A lot of beverage brands.
I mean, the macro trends there, right? Like Gen Z is not drinking as much, nowhere near as much as other generations. So it's, you need energy, you have a drink. You're not having wine, you need a mocktail replacement. You wake up in the morning, you need a hydration drink. You need protein after workout. Like there's just so many use cases now for beverage that are.
Yeah.
So that beverage was everywhere, which is great to see.
The only thing that stood out to me, just because I had tried it before organically, and then you and I had talked about it before, not on here, but just together, was Update. I thought that was interesting, just as a brand, but more so as the science behind paraxanthine. That's really the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that was like a boom, here's like a new thing. I'm sure there was more than that. We heard a couple yesterday. You and I just didn't see them, but paraxanthine's like a caffeine alternative. So it's like a drink that gave you energy using a byproduct of caffeine without having any of the jitters or crashes that you get with caffeine. That was interesting. We've got a nice conversation with those guys. They're doing some cool stuff. Yeah, it's funny. Like it was a lot of, I felt like we did see protein. Like I think protein, I laughed where I felt like one of my big takeaways was there were a lot of brands that rolled out new packaging or a new product line that was like protein plus or plus protein. So they definitely, that theme certainly was there. There was also a lot less mushroom this time. I feel like the last couple of years, you and we've walked away saying like,
Yeah,
there's a ton
I
of
feel like
mushroom stuff.
it's gone down kind of every year.
Keto is also not a huge thing. Like that's definitely kind of fallen away.
Well, I think it's less the keto messaging. I think has just become low cal, high protein, low carb, high protein.
Yeah,
like it's
for sure.
And it's funny because like I know a bunch of people have talked about this, right? The keto diet has existed in some shape or form for 20 years. It's just been called something different, right? So it was Atkins 20 years ago. I remember my dad did Atkins, and then it became keto friendly, and now it was like a meat based diet, or it's so it was less keto, but certainly. And I mentioned this on a call with a client this week, and I don't know if this is just because of the specific clients that we have, but like this idea of macros being first and foremost and ingredients kind of being secondary now. So it's not like as far off to say as I don't care what I put in my body as long as the macros are good, but it's kind of leaning towards it of like there's a ton of new ingredients that are coming out, and
it's
as
less
long as
paleo, it's less like paleo, just clean, simple whole food ingredients. I would say that's actually fallen pretty far away from the trend.
Yeah.
Still, there's still a whole niche of obviously a huge swath of people that prescribe to that. I think that's a great way, but that's a good point. I think
the challenge I have for us next year is, and the brand was is it the Good Things? It was pickled olives that were sourced responsibly. It really good conversation.
Yeah. I'm now butchering it because that might have been. Oh, actually, I know I can find it. Yeah.
We should give them a shout out because it was the woman that we were talking to with Caleb, our friend from Thrive.
Big Picture Foods.
Big Picture Foods. Really, really great conversation. And she posed a question to Caleb, and it kicked off a conversation that I had never heard before.
This was probably the best conversation we had the whole week.
And it was, she asked the question, why does organic or responsibly sourced or regenerative or insert whatever quote unquote like premium tagline that people in the food industry apply to a brand that then demands a premium? So she's challenging the notion of if it's regenerative or if it's organic or gluten-free or vegan or high protein or just good food for the body, why does that demand a premium versus crap?
And she even went a level higher. I felt like she was talking about like talking to specific retailers and how at this point it's like if you're organic, it's automatically there's a whatever percent increase in price they expect to be on shelf. And then if you're regenerative, it's another, whatever, 15, 20% above that. And I had never stopped and thought about it because her point was like, for them, they were, I think, I could be butchering this a little bit, but she was essentially saying they could bring a regenerative product to market for less than what some of these huge olive brands are wanting to retail at that are none of those things, that are like not clean. And I had never stopped and thought about that. Like what a paradigm shift if she could pull that off. And shout out, she was super well now. Like she knew so much about the topic. I was very impressed just listening to her, and I believe it was maybe her husband kind of going on and on about how that whole space is kind of unfolding in retail, which I agree. You and I could probably, we take some time to learn more about it because I think that's a huge opportunity in general.
I also really hope that they hear this and that they're not married.
We'll tag them. We'll tag them in the LinkedIn post. I thought shout out to Unbun. That was a cool one.
So good.
We'll tag all these people so everyone can see who they are. But Unbun, if you follow, if you're on LinkedIn, you've probably seen these guys. Their stuff's out there. But essentially, I'm going to butcher this too, but I'm just going to say it. It was basically bread that's not made from bread. Was it made from whey? Do you remember what the basis of it was? It was so good. I was honestly,
We'll
I
tag
was,
them and they can tell us. It was
there we
just
go.
good. Like it
I
was
was,
essentially healthy bread, and
yeah.
they had it and they toasted it, and it was an everything seasoned bread. It was so phenomenal. The texture was great. It tasted just like bread.
I was I like I think I blanked on some of the details because it was so good. I was shocked. Like I remember taking it and being like, "This is gonna taste like crappy keto something," and
Yeah.
it was unbelievable.
The
It was so good.
the biggest in-home test that I want to do with them is what does it taste like not toasted, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So like when you're just making a turkey and cheese sandwich, what does it taste like? And then also how does it hold up on a grill to make grilled cheese?
That's a great one. That's a great one. I
Because if you
totally
can
agree.
solve those two things for me, I'll never eat bread again. It
Yeah,
was
why
so
would
good.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
why would you? Um,
I'd say gotta get with along that same line to Egg Life. Their new
yeah.
packaging was awesome.
Shout out to them. Love
The
the Egg Life team.
innovation was legit very, very, very good. Like essentially recreated a wake up wrap that you throw in the microwave for 30 seconds. Phenomenal stuff. The pasta was
Pasta.
ridiculously good. So it's exciting to continue to see. Like I feel like are we in generation two of make bad food better for you?
Mm-hmm,
Whereas
mm-hmm.
like I don't want to rip on anyone here, but like think of a category where you took the original stuff that everyone been eating for 20 years, the first brand to kind of break out in the category as the better for you option. And I feel like now brands are innovating based off of that, and they're coming out with like the Gen 2 where it's healthier but
Yeah,
also tastes a lot better. Like
yeah,
the egg life
right.
pasta,
It
I
was
gotta probably have it without sauce on it, but like I don't know why I would eat pasta at home.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, unless it's a price thing for you, it tastes as good, if not better, and it's healthier.
Hmm.
So I would totally agree. That was a really good one. They did a lot of really good. That was like so much innovation. We kind of came over late that one day, and I felt like we were getting machine gun because we know those guys. And I was like, wow, you guys launched new packaging, new products. This is awesome. That was a big one. The other ones that I wrote down that I thought this was interesting in general. Was where was I bouncing to here? Oh, creatine. Creatine was in a lot of stuff. I mean, that's not like necessarily I would say like a major trend we saw, but maybe you and I were just gravitating towards it. We've been talking a lot about creatine
Yeah,
products
I
and
think that might be it, but still an interesting trend.
well, it was funny. Remember, we went to a few booths in a row, like accidentally, that were all selling
Hmm.
creatine, and each of them had different perspectives on the other one's type of creatine. I feel like I learned a lot about creatine, like within like a 30-minute stretch, because
Yeah,
I
it
was
was
like,
monohydrate versus something else that I
yeah,
don't want to quote.
butcher there.
Once Upon a
Yeah,
Coconut was good. I know we had that on
yes,
our list. So Once Upon a Coconut, we talked to them on Friday during the midst of the free for all. Um, as two guys who don't like coconut water, their chocolate flavor specifically was
that actually
very good.
blew my mind because I don't like coconut water at all
Yep.
in general. I just don't like coconut. And then he had me try the chocolate one. It didn't even, you couldn't even taste it
Hmm.
because there's obviously the benefits of coconut water are
Yeah.
immense with hydration. So
Cool
that was
packaging,
actually a good
cool
one.
story with who were they were saying that Damien John's daughter
Yeah,
works for them.
that's right. He
So
invested with them.
yeah, just kind of like an interesting backstory. The one challenge that I have, and this is not just specific for Once Upon a Coconut, this is just me as a non-coconut water consumer. The the macros of general coconut water never made sense to me versus the benefits. Like I understand there are
I've
benefits to
never.
drinking coconut water, but
Are
like
they? Is it high carb or sugar?
I think it's
Both.
I think it's high carb and high sugar. Like there's no protein in it, and there's very little fat. So at
Yeah,
that point, you're just, I guess, for energy, which I'd rather just different consumer, right? I'd rather pound pre-workout than
Kyle's
have a coconut
not
water.
the perfect consumer for that.
But the chocolate one
Um,
was great. Like I would have the chocolate one in a shake or a smoothie all day.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's a great call. Oh, the one I wanted to call out. This was not innovation, but more so just I didn't know this was a thing, but do you remember Gila coffee? We
Yeah,
both were
the
wanting a
coffee
coffee and
brand
we
from
started. It was
Mexico.
just so damn good.
Yeah, that
Like
was really good.
it was funny. It was one of those booths where the packaging and branding is phenomenal,
Hmm.
and it made us go over because it smelled like good coffee. They were explaining the benefits of getting the coffee from Mexico, which I didn't know. I didn't know Mexico actually produced coffee. And it was just phenomenal. There was nothing, no added benefit, nothing besides just really damn good coffee. So that was the fun one. I wanted to give a shout out to Visitor, just because those guys are great, and Chicago guys. And
talk about a scrappy team who essentially they were last minute got notice that they were having a booth, and so they scrambled, got product there. Their packaging in their booth was so well kind of like match made in heaven, because their booth was essentially just a wood frame for a booth, and then the backdrop was just their simple logo. And their packaging, it's just an aluminum can with like a circle that says Visitor. It's very, very minimalistic. So like that whole vibe of the booth, the packaging, also the stuff tastes amazing, and they're Chicago guys. That was a fun conversation. You drink quite a lot of NA beer, right?
Yeah, they were hitting on Athletic. We talked to him after Expo. That's usually what I default to. I actually think it's pretty good. But Visitor it tasted more like a real beer than probably any other one I've had. You know, it's funny. The other one I have to give a good shout out to. We talked about non-alcoholic, because that was a theme last year that it was kind of our North Star, and I still think it should be for us. We didn't. I would say Visitor was awesome from like a taste. I actually think Bureau was really good. I don't know how much of that you actually tasted. I was kind of expecting that one to not be that awesome.
Their lager was good. Their wheat was non-memorable.
Yeah.
If you love beer but you don't want the alcohol, that like those have gotten to the point where there's barely it's not like you're giving much up. There's barely difference.
Yeah.
I guess my struggle with all those is I guess I just don't love beer that much to where I would want
you're just not a beer guy.
No, and it speaks like the beverage trend, right? If you were to go back 3 years ago, NA anything was always positioned as drink this instead of booze. So it was formulated to taste like an espresso martini or a margarita, where I feel like now it's evolved to you don't have to drink booze, you can drink this. It's not positioned as a mocktail, it's positioned as a stress reliever with ashwagandha, energy with L-theanine, magnesium, where it's like you can drink this instead of booze, even though it doesn't taste like a drink.
Sure.
It's just tastes good.
Right. That's a good point. I think one, and I know we should probably wrap up. Are you surprised? So two areas, we didn't really talk about this at Expo. I was thinking about it this morning before we recorded this. Protein in drinks was one that I thought we'd see more of, honestly. We called a cute fee up, but didn't see a ton of it. The other one was, and maybe there's a reason. I think we actually talked to somebody about this. There might be a reason. Creatine in gummies is popping up everywhere. I was a little surprised. Why is there not creatine in drinks? That might be something super dumb to say. Is there like a reason? Does something happen to creatine when it's in water?
Yeah, I feel like whenever I put creatine, so I put creatine in my pre-workout, and then pre-workout has creatine, most of them do. The creatine doesn't dissolve in water. So like I'll get to the bottom of my shaker, and the last sip is always just tastes like sand. Not tastes like sand, but it feels like you're eating sand, because the creatine doesn't dissolve. So I wonder if it has something to do with that.
I wonder. Yeah, I thought maybe we'd see like a creatine protein combo.
We'll
tag a cool beverage.
We'll tag Paul. Paul will tell us.
I feel like Paul actually might have been the one who told us something happens if you leave creatine in water for too long. Like it gets like toxic or something weird. Do you remember this combo? I'm going off the rails, but
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure something happens.
This is a good place to end.
Good place to end. It was a good show. We'll tag everyone we talked about and give shout outs. But yeah, congrats everyone on a big show. I know a lot of people showed out and had a lot of good success. So
yep. Back to the grind. See you guys next year.
Sounds good. All right, buddy.
See you guys.
See ya.